right. Well, we are back with the Crazy Blessed podcast, and I am talking with an amazing woman who is now my lifelong friend. I don't know if she realizes this or not, but it's Heidi St. And she is the busy homeschool mom. And she's also got a book called The Busy Homeschool Mom's Guide to Romance, which we're going to dive into. I'm so excited about that today. I feel like I need to light a few candles or something, but that would be kind of weird. So Heidi St. You probably already know her, but she's an author, speaker, and you can find out more about her at thebusymom.com. But she's with us today, so hi.
Hey, woman. Thanks for having me. This is a treat. We're going to have a hoot and holler and good time I can tolerate.
Oh, my word. This is going to be awesome because we are diving into romance, which, you know, if you're wearing a denim jumper, you may need to change out of that. But
Right. Preach.
I will preach. I just have to say, I was reading your book, and we're doing, whether you're listening to this on the podcast or maybe you're watching the video of us doing an interview, but I had to go wash my face, reapply makeup, because at the end I was ugly crying, like blotchy face, ugly crying. I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm glad I did this early and I can go put on makeup again before we do this. But you really touched my heart, as you touch a lot of women's hearts, about how imperative it is that we guard and protect that amazing holy covenant of marriage. This is so much more than sex we're talking about. This is the covenant of marriage. And you just really hit home. Thank you so much for writing raw and real and something that is not just superficial, but something we can really dig into and apply to our lives right now.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I think we need it now more than we've ever needed it. Marriage is under attack in the culture more than we've ever seen it attacked at any time in human history. And the devil is working against people who want to have happy marriages. So it's a huge deal.
Yeah, absolutely. He is. But that's why we're here. That's why we're talking, because we ain't going to let him have a foothold in marriage. No, not today. It ain't going to happen. Not on our watch, right?
Not on our watch, no.
All right, now you something that you said in your book, which I really want to touch on this. And you started your book this way, and I think we need to start our interview this way. And that is that you got into marriage thinking that your husband was supposed to meet all your needs. And you learned very quickly that is not his role. That when we start seeking for all of our needs to be met through our husband, we're kind of pushing Jesus out of the place where he belongs. And no one can thrive under that kind of pressure.
That's right. And not least of all, not our husbands. You know, I mean, no guy wants to feel like he's 100% responsible for his wife's happiness all the time. Right. And I think because I grew up in a broken home, I had this mistaken identity in marriage. I thought, man, once I find the right guy, then he's the one who's going to make me happy. And he's the one who's going to make me, you know, kind of guide and direct my dreams and my visions and that's not it at all. Mm-hmm. And I realized, man, you know what, not only am I pushing Jesus out of the place where he's supposed to be as the Lord of my life, but I'm putting a pressure on my husband that he did not ask for and does not deserve. He didn't enjoy it. Like he doesn't want to be my sole source of happiness. He doesn't want to be my everything that way. Jesus is. That's the role of God in our lives. And I think that God lays out those priorities pretty clearly in his word. And when you study the word of God, it becomes very clear that when we go outside of the parameters that God sets down for us, then we struggle and we lose our joy. And so coming back to the centrality, going, okay, I need to know the Lord first, be in his word, be a woman of prayer. And then saying, Father, show me how can I love my husband better? It starts there. It's foundational.
Yes, that is so true. And you talk about a cord of 3 strands, and we learn about that through his word, that it's not easily broken, that when you have, moms are going all over the place, dads are going all over the place. We get that. Like, we're busy women. We live busy lives. But Jesus is that cord that pulls us together. And I know some people are like, well, Hannah, I wanted you to talk about sex, but we can't talk about intimacy until you can realize the intimacy of having Christ as a center of your relationship, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And the culture has done, and even the Christian culture has done a really good job of replacing true intimacy. We live in a culture that is starved for intimacy. We're giving away so much false intimacy. We don't know what real intimacy is anymore. So, and I think it's, we could probably talk forever about the Women's March and all things that are happening in the culture right now. But I was thinking, we've got an entire generation of women who are marching, and they don't even know what women are anymore. We don't even know who we are, and it comes from Christ. Our identity has to be found in him. And once we find our identity in him, all of a sudden, the joy of being a woman and the femininity that comes along with that, and the desire to be who God wants us to be, all of a sudden that redefines who we are. And it's so much more than sex. You're not going to get that on the cover of Cosmo magazine when you're checking out at Walmart.
No. It's the top 10 moves to make your lover, not your husband, make your lover pant like a dog or something. It's like, what?
They ever change? I just want to know, do they ever change the little subheadings on the front of Cosmo magazine? I'm like, I told my husband a couple weeks ago, I'm like, they have been doing this since 1977. I think it's the same thing.
I know. Like, are there really 7 new moves? Every month?
No, there are not. No, I just want to go. Can I get a witness? That is a lie from the pit of hell, because there is no way that you people have created 8,792 new moves since the 70s. It's not happening. So stop putting the rest of us on a guilt trip. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can bend that way. Everybody feels like they have to perform to somebody else's standard, right. And we don't. Right. And we don't. And we've taken away the joy of it's supposed to be joyful, and they've made it. I said the other day, I should send this to you, Keela, because you probably really like it. But I was like, it is time for Christian women to take back the narrative in this nation about sex and marriage, because it has been stolen out from underneath us from the enemy himself while we've been watching. Yeah. We've been watching while it's happened, and I'm thinking, when are Christian women going to step up and reclaim it? When are we going to go, actually, this was God's design. And let me tell you about someone who loves you, and his name is Jesus, and he made this. And he said it was good, and this is why it's good, and this is how it's good, and it's good inside the confines of marriage, and it should be explosive and wonderful. But we've taken it outside of that context. Once you do that, it's kind of game over. You really have no place to go, or at least if you do go, you can't go very far, and it doesn't lead to joy. You and I were just talking about that before this interview. Yeah. Joy is found in Jesus. Yeah.
Totally. Absolutely. That is so on the mark, because when you do take it out of God's design, it is fleeting and it's shallow and it is unsatisfying. Yes. And that's the worst thing, because then we can get struck with this false reality that we need to be a different person or act a different way or have a different standards, when really when we stay in God's design and how he created marriage and what he created it for, and celebrating that, like having fun with it. We need to take it back, because it was designed for fun and enjoyment and fulfillment, and we need to own it and take pride in that. Yeah,
right. And years ago when I started homeschooling, you and I were talking about this. I've been homeschooling for, I don't know, I'm like 187 years old in homeschooling.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of like dog years when you're homeschooling.
Yeah, I think so. No, I think it's like 12 years for everyone. I think it's something like that. Because you really...
I'm good with that. I'm good with that equation.
Yeah, I think it works. But I noticed early on in the homeschooling, so a long time ago, that the narrative, even the sexual narrative in marriage was kind of skewed then too, because it became all about procreation, right? So the people that, whoever has the most kids wins. It was sort of this, race to the finish, who's going to have more kids. And I finally started telling people, listen, there's nowhere in the Bible does it say that godliness is equated with having children.
Right.
Nowhere. God said, be fruitful and multiply. He said, sex is a good thing. He said, children are a gift. But all of a sudden we made it into a contest. What? Yeah. What is that all about? I'm telling you, I have met women, I've been speaking on the circuit for probably 10 years, and I have met women who have come up to me with tears in their eyes whose marriages have been utterly ruined by this ideology, because rather than trusting in the Lord and saying, Father, take it before the Lord. Right. God, what do you have for me? Speak to me, speak to my husband, make us of one heart and one mind on this, so that if you say, yes, have more children, we can welcome those children joyfully. Right. Instead of, oh my gosh, I just had, 6 children and they're all 14 months apart. And it's bringing that relationship with the Lord, that personal relationship with the Lord, back to the center of marriage, and getting together with our husband and going, what should we do? We need to go before the Lord so that we have peace about this, so that it becomes a joyful thing. Right. And not either this thing that we're doing out of obligation or a thing that we're afraid of, because both of those things are outside of what God says children are supposed to be. And so that is like it's a hot topic for me, because people always ask me, because I have 7 and you have 8, because I have so many kids, people just, the first question they ask me is always, are you Catholic? Are you Mormon? I get the whole,
yes.
Are you stupid? I get that one too.
Do you know where all these kids come from?
Yeah, that's right. Do you people know how that works? Yeah, we get that. Yeah. And I'm also, yes, we do, and we like it.
I know. And evidently we have a good time. And we're good at it.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. And huggers gonna hug.
Gotcha.
Well, Heidi, I know there's a woman right now who's listening to us and saying, I wish I had what you have, but my husband and I are not. We don't have that solid tie of Christ. I just know that there's someone who's listening. It's like, I want to be that good wife, and I want to be united with him spiritually, but I feel like we're on 2 different planes. And I know we're talking about romance. We're talking about that, but I think we do need to address that, because some women are like, he's far from the Lord right now, or he doesn't understand my relationship with God.
Or maybe he doesn't even know the Lord.
Maybe he doesn't.
Maybe he doesn't know the Lord. But I think the encouragement that I would say is it doesn't matter, because the promises of God's word are not, they're transferable. Yes. So it doesn't matter if you are a Christian and your husband is not a Christian. If you're walking with the Lord and your husband isn't, the mercies of God, the Bible says, are new every day. His truth doesn't change. They're for all generations. So I always tell women, because I hear this a lot when I'm traveling, a lot of hurting women out there. Yeah. Lean in to the word. We lean into the word. We lean into the promises of God. So we're not here to change our husband, right? Amen? Because we can't do that. Right? Any more than our husbands can change us. And I guarantee you there have been many times when my husband's like, what could I do to change that woman? Sure, he's probably been like prostrate on the floor before the Lord, trying to figure out what he can do. And I just have learned, over all these years, when I lean into the promises of God and I am praying for a specific thing, sometimes I pray for them for years, but God's in his faithfulness, he replaces that longing with joy. And I think he does it as we lean in. And instead of expecting this big, incredible change. I mean, I think it's a fallacy, even for me, and I'm sure we're going to get into this because this is going to be so much fun. Yeah. But it's a fallacy to believe that anybody has a perfect marriage. Even 2 people who are walking with the Lord, to think that we have a perfect marriage or this explosive sex life. Life is hard and life gets in the way. That's why no matter who we're married to as Christian women, we lean into the word. I was just writing about this the other night because I'm finishing up some edits for a new book. And I was actually writing, lean in and live free. Because once we lean into the word, that freedom comes and we're no longer worried about, well, what if this and what if that? All we're worried about is, God, help me to be obedient to you. So because God's instructions to wives don't change just because your husband isn't a Christian. Right. In fact, I think they're even more beautiful, because he says, listen, to the woman who doesn't have a husband, I'm going to be a husband for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, his promises become even more profound. And so the truth doesn't change. I just did a conference in Carlsbad, California a couple weeks ago, and this question came up. And I said, listen, God doesn't let us off the hook because our circumstances aren't perfect. He doesn't let us off the hook with his promises, and he doesn't let us off the hook with what he asks of us either. Those two have to go hand in hand. So I think that's where I would go from there. Lean into the promises of God and watch what he'll do. That's so good. Because it's not our responsibility when we can our responsibility first and foremost is to God. And when we do our part, he does his part. That's not our job. Our job is not to convert our husbands. Our job. Aren't you glad? That is, I'm sorry, but I have enough work trying to train up my children. I do not need to train up my husband. God can speak to him, and God can answer those questions, and he does not want me to do that. I am not his mother. Right. Right. And we're going to do it imperfectly. We're going to mess it up. And no. God, you do your thing. Like, I'm letting you do your thing. I ain't going to do it for you. I started doing something a couple of years ago, because we've been married for 28 years, and I feel like I'm still learning this, because it's just, our old sin nature just bubbles to the surface, and I'm kind of a control freak, and I want to, hello, who doesn't want their best life now, right? These are the books itself. And so I'm praying, I'm asking the Lord, change this and change that. And I realized I was praying for the wrong thing. And so I started when I would see things come up ahead of time, and I knew, okay, there's going to be there's a bump coming in the road, because we've been married long enough. You can kind of tell, there's a curve coming, I started just ahead of time just going, Lord, change me. If the person that's in the situation that has the wrong perspective is me and I can't see it, open my eyes. And then giving the Lord specific things to pray for my husband, whether it's, so I talked to a woman last year who was praying with her husband had a problem with anger. And so we were sort of praying together. When she saw that there's going to be a situation was going to arise that could possibly potentially make him angry, she hit her knees early. As soon as she realized, oh man, this is going to happen, she was like, Lord, give my husband self-control. Fill him with your spirit. He knows you. He loves you. Fill him with your spirit. And for those of you whose husbands don't know the Lord, I would say, Father, surround my husband with men who know you. So literally surround him so that everywhere he
can't
looks,
escape it.
Get away. He cannot get away because he is that loved and that pursued, and God cares about him that much because he does. God does care about him that much, and he can do it. Oh my goodness, if we have seen so many answers to prayer, I'm almost fanatical about the power of prayer after 2016. I just am like, oh my word, my heavens, we have seen God do so many amazing things, and to think that he can't do that in marriage is short-sighted. He can absolutely do it.
So true. So true. Yes. He's so faithful. He's so good. Yeah. We need to talk about something, and that is that girl. You were talking in your book about that girl, and it's that girl that we want to be. Maybe we were at one time, and the busyness of life has just gotten to us, and especially when you're doing 1,000 things, as most moms are, because we love to say yes to everything that comes up, and so we're overcommitted, we're exhausted, and but we forget about that girl inside of us who wants to be pursued, who's hot, who's sexy, who enjoys sex. We forget about her. And what do we do about that? There's a lot of moms who are like, oh, I vaguely remember her off in the distance somewhere.
She was the girl that you were before you had kids. She's the girl that you were before the mortgage came, before the health crisis, before. I mean, we can think of 25 things that go on our list. But for me, the reason I wrote about that girl was because my husband took me out for lunch or breakfast one time. It was a long time ago. And he just was like, he was sitting across the table, and it was like a rare moment. I think at that time we only had 5 kids. And he was like, I miss you. I miss you. I miss the girl that you used to be, the one who's excited to see me come home from work, the girl that, was like buying new lingerie, that girl. And at first I was offended, because I just thought, oh, here we go. This is going to be another guilt trip. It's one more thing that I'm not doing right. Now I'm not meeting your needs sexually, and I'm not exciting anymore. And so I got defensive, I was just like, really? I said, well, for the record, I miss you too. So now we've taken this, what should have been a sweet conversation, and I launch into like combat mode, right? I was totally doing that. I was like, oh yeah, we'll try this one on. Oh yeah, that's what you think? Well, blah, blah, blah. And I could see just the demeanor in his eyes when he's trying to express something to me that was actually beautiful. And because I'm so used to hearing those voices in my head from the cover of Cosmo, that's all I could hear. And somewhere in the back of my mind, this was totally the Lord, because my parents divorced. My grandparents are divorced. Of the 7 siblings in my family, 5 of them are divorced. I come from a family that's literally riddled with broken marriages and broken families. And as my husband was kind of pouring his heart out to me, and I was getting angry and defensive, the Holy Spirit just brought my mind back to conversations that I heard my own parents have around the dinner table. And I just thought, I need to listen.
Right.
I need to listen to the heart of my husband, whose heart is really for me. And so we changed the conversation, and I started going, well, who is that girl? And I kind of went on this quest to find her again, because at that point I was, relatively a lot younger than I am now, but still relatively, hip deep in babies and homeschooling and, laundry coming out my ears, because Jay was saying, I miss you. And my instinct was to say, what do you mean you miss me? I'm literally in the same place every single day when you come home from work. I'm in front of the kitchen sink. I make like a triangle from our house to the church to Walmart, the house, the church, Walmart, the house. I'm literally wearing ruts in the road doing the same thing every day. And then you say you miss me. But what he meant was he missed that I used to prefer him. I used to give him more attention. And I can remember when I saw my husband skating across the parking lot at Multnomah School of the Bible when we were college kids, you know. And I'm telling you what, that man with the pink Converse tennis shoes and his mullet and his jean jacket and his skateboard, I was like,
who can resist that? I'm sorry.
I know, right? I was like, that guy, he's mine. I want that, you know. And I
see that mullet is mine.
See that mullet? M is for mullet and mine. I was like, this is for me. And I thought, you know what? In some regard, like, for as much as Jay missed that girl, I missed her.
Yeah.
And so I just started saying, you know, Lord, help me see what does it look like to be her in this season of my life. And we can never go back. Like, I'm never going to be that girl who saw my husband skateboarding across the parking lot in Multnomah School of Bible, because I'm a different woman now. I've grown, I've changed. We all do that. But there is that seed that was given to you in your heart for your husband, that desire for your husband, that you know, that I want to see. I mean, my heart still skips a beat when I if I accidentally run into him in the grocery store, I'm like, oh, I'm always excited. Like, whenever I see him, you know, if it's an accident or whatever, I'm still really excited because he still makes my heart skip a beat. I just wasn't communicating it. Yeah. I wasn't communicating it to him verbally, and I wasn't communicating it to him sexually. And so I started just sort of asking the Lord, help me prioritize this precious relationship that you have given me over every other human relationship in my life, over my children, which I take a lot of hits for. Yeah. You know, the busy mom, I write about this. You cannot, well, you probably could. The angry comments that I get when I say marriage over motherhood.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah. I absolutely believe that. But if you don't have that, this is what I tell my kids. I'm like, because I love daddy so much, I can love you more. Like, you would not want me without me being madly in love with him. So go. Like, me and daddy. Dad's home from work. We're gonna hang out. Go.
Yeah.
And
go.
But they love it. When you talk to my older kids, they're like, I am so grateful that you and Dad are so in love. Like, you're stupid in love. Like, chasing each other around the house and being gross. And they're like, it. You know, maybe when they were little, they were like, no, come on, I wanna hang out with Dad. It's like, no, this is my time. Like, you back off, baby. This is my man.
Back off. That's right. And I was here first.
I was here first. I claimed him, but they love it because it gives them security, and they know their parents are in love. And I think that is one of the best gifts you can ever give your children, is to be madly in love with your spouse.
Yeah, it is. And it's so important. And I think we forget, and the culture tells us our children should be first. I mean, I think that is the kind of the cry of even the feminist movement.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing for your child when you're exalting them over everything, except you're going to feed this spirit of entitlement? Wait, this is not this interview. I'm sorry.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
I'm back tomorrow. We can talk about that.
Okay, we'll do that. I'll text you.
Okay, text me. But it's true though. If you want to find that girl again, I mean, if for the moms who are listening and they're just like, you know what, I haven't had a really great sexual liaison with my husband in 10 years, or I haven't, you know, I'm giving my kids so much attention that I don't even know my husband anymore. Can I just say those are signs of what I call in marriage a clear and present danger. Yes. And to think that our marriages are immune from the possibility of divorce. I know literally hundreds of homeschooling moms. And, you know, I say homeschoolers because that's who I primarily speak to. But, you know, women who are in the church that people think, oh, that'll never happen to me. It can happen. It can happen, and the enemy loves to get a foothold, and he loves to drive a wedge between a husband and a wife. And the very first place, typically, that he will do it between a husband and wife is in the bedroom. That's the very first place. And you notice this sort of separation that happens because the sexual connection is intimacy. It's a way for you to connect with your husband in a way that nobody else can. And you meet that need in a way that nobody else can. And when we don't meet that need, the enemy comes in, and you're just ripe for trouble. And I get it. Like, I understand being tired. I understand all that stuff. So like,
we need to talk about that. Like, we need to talk about the mom who is like, you don't get it. Like, I am asleep before I even go to bed. I'm exhausted. Yeah. And you talk about the headache in your back. I mean, because we put up barricades, but I truly think it's kind of like, you know, when you start exercising, you don't want to press play. You don't want to put on your shoes. Once you're in it, you're like, this is great. Why did I ever stop doing this?
Why did I wait so long? Yeah, it's totally right. And I think it's the same concept. It starts, I think for women especially, it starts in our mind.
Yeah.
It's a commitment. We make a commitment to intimacy. And I've told my husband, I mean, poor Jay, because he hears me speak about this all the time, he knows exactly how I feel. And I've told, thousands of women, there have been many times when I have gotten all the kids in bed at the end of the day. I brush my teeth, I put my fuzzy jammies on, and I get into bed and I just think, oh, thank God. I just need, like 25 minutes of no one asking me for anything.
Right.
Don't ask me for a drink of water. Don't ask me what I think of your homework assignment. Don't ask me who my favorite movie star is. I don't want to hear from anybody for any reason. And I can hear my husband come down the hall, and I'm just like, maybe if I play dead, he'll leave me alone. Then I'm laying in bed just going, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. And I laugh because I say, I tell women, I can remember one time in particular, I thought, well, maybe if I cry. Maybe if I cry.
Pulling out all the stops, Heidi.
Yeah, no, he's impervious to my crying. He was like, I see you're upset. Can we talk about that later?
Can we talk about that after?
Yeah. Can we do this and then we'll talk about that, But I think, men and women are wired differently. We're wired differently by design. And of course, I recognize, and I'm talking about this in generalities, because I'm sure that there are women who are listening who say, my husband doesn't have a sex drive. I'm the one who wants to pursue him. But the heart needs to be the same. And we get it from the Lord.
Right.
We go to the Lord and we're just like, Lord, I have literally, God knows me so well. I have literally said, God, I have no sex drive. Could you help me? Could you just show up? Could you show up? So that my husband knows I actually want you, and I can meet his needs in a way that's actually meaningful to him,
Right.
So I'm not just like cold fish in bed. He's like, so glad I married you, sloppy lady,
Can I just sleep while you do your thing? I don't know. Is that possible?
And we all know that has happened. Okay, so we have, I think as women, it's just time that we're honest and we say, look, this can be a struggle, and it's not always glamorous and it's not always exciting. But when we commit ourselves to loving our husbands in that way, and frankly, loving ourselves that way,
right? I mean, yes,
loving our marriage that way, it actually yields a good thing. It's a good fruit that comes from that investment. And it's like anything else. It takes time, and if you neglect it, it's like, I love your analogy of exercise. You neglect it, and after a while, you're like, nah, I didn't need that anymore. And you're wrong, and we're wrong. We feel the same way about exercise. I do not love to exercise. I hate to admit that. I would go so far as to say I hate it. I hate lacing up my shoes, but you're exactly right. Once I make the commitment, I get up there, I take a walk, or I get on my elliptical, or I do, half an hour of just really yummy stretches, or, whatever. I'm always like, why do I not do that?
Right.
Every day? I would feel better. And sex is the same way. It's the same way.
It's the same way. You have to make it conscious. It's got to have intention behind it. It's not just something that we kind of like wait for the mood, when the mood ain't going to happen. And we have to show up. And then the mood is a result of that. We put forth the action and the emotion follows. But I know that we have to wrap this up. But I need to talk very quickly about women who are, and you said it, like, love yourself enough to make this a priority in your life. And women are like, oh, but my body, like, I've got that post-baby body and I've got flab. And can I just speak to the fact that he probably doesn't care?
He does not care. He does not care. He just wants you to want him.
Yes.
That's really what it comes down to. I'm telling you, I have had enough babies. My stomach looks like a National Geographic map of the world. And
I look like I was gutted by a tiger. There's like stretch marks. It's like, what am I going to,
Yeah. Nothing you can do. And I realized, and I think I wrote about this too in the book. I got out of the shower one day and I say, oh, I know. I said, a man designed my shower. A man designed my bathroom, because I get out of the shower and I'm greeted with this full length mirror. Well, the last thing I want to see when I get out of the shower is me in a full length mirror, because I'm
so
always horrified.
Sorry. Can we have a moment of silence about your bathroom?
Yes.
Okay, there. It's done.
Thank you. Yes, because I think we've been conditioned to believe that beautiful looks like a certain way. And I told my husband one day, I just said, this is actually a problem for me now because I just feel like the lights need to be off. I feel gross. There's this whole big piece of tummy that ain't never going to go back. Doesn't matter how many sit-ups I do. That is it's just not going to be okay ever.
It's there flapping in the wind with the rest of it. It's just like, it's
totally
done.
Yeah. And he just looked at me with just this, I think he was genuinely hurt for me because he was like, I wish you could see you the way that I see you. Because I think that man must have the best Instagram filter on the face of the earth. He apparently doesn't notice. And you know what I notice it is more than anything else? It's just when I respond to his advances, I never get into this whole women should be initiators. You know what? If that's not you, but you're not initiating your husband's advances, then we got real problems.
Yeah.
I just think, man, we need to be listening to each other. And when Jay said, I just want you to want me, I just want you to respond. I realized women are born responders. We are created responders. We're created to respond to the loving leadership of our husbands. This was God's design in every area of our life. And I'm not saying don't initiate sex. So no one send me an email. That's not what I'm saying. But I just think, man, part of the reason we don't initiate or part of the reason we don't respond to our husband's initiation is because we're embarrassed of our bodies. And I just think that is a lie. It is a lie from the pit. And we need to get over it. Whatever you got to do to get over it, whether it's buying a cute little baby doll, nightie or whatever it is. That's what I did. I was like, well, if this, if this is really going to bother me and he wants to have the lights on, we're going to come up with something different. And then after a while, I'm like, it doesn't bother me anymore. But I think, whatever you got to do to get back in the groove so that your husband knows you love him. And you know what? It's so good for you. It's good for women. Yes. It's good for us. We like to think we don't need it. Lie.
That is a big fat lie. I mean, if you look at how sex reduces stress, which how many women today are like, I'm so stressed out. Have sex. Sex reduces. My kids are probably in the other. Go, God, Mom's talking about that again. But have sex. It reduces your stress, reduces anxiety, gets rid of illness. I mean, look at the studies. God designed sex for a beautiful purpose. So it's just like the exercise thing. Just initiate. Or if you don't want to initiate, be responsive, like you said. And watch what happens.
Yeah, it really is amazing. One of the really neat things that I started doing was and Jay and I we talked about, his need and my needs. My needs obviously different. It takes me a long time to unwind. He's like a microwave. The man, when he wants to have sex, just boom, let's do it right now. And I'm like, the laundry, the dinner, I forgot, and I need that. I can't come down out of my tree. It takes me 25, 30, okay, an hour. It takes me a while to come down out of my tree. And so I would tell him, you know what, when you're, during the day or whatever, you think, I sure hope my wife's available tonight. Can you just give me a heads up? So I'm thinking along those lines. So I love to take a shower. I would love to just unwind. I love to be thinking about you. And it doesn't always work that way. Obviously it doesn't. And sometimes it's more fun when it doesn't. But this idea that, that we can just, you wouldn't go into your kitchen and just snap your fingers and expect a gourmet meal to appear. You put time into it. You put effort into it. You think about it. You think about what ingredients are going to go into this wonderful meal, and I think we expect our sex lives to be this amazing, wonderful thing without putting any energy or thought into it. And typically it doesn't work that way. I mean, we can all slam together a really quick meal in the kitchen on occasion and go, wow, that was really good. But as a general rule,
it takes a little backstory. We need a little work. And get rid of those holy, nasty underwear.
Get rid of them.
Please. Come on.
Get rid of them. Just no. Just stop.
Just stop.
Just say no. Yeah. I'm with you, girl.
Because that's part of the whole, we need to put this as a priority. And like you said, if it takes a little work to get there, then value it enough to put a little work into it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would go so far, Heidi, as to say we can legally count it as exercise, right? So we can get our exercise point for it.
You are, and you're burning calories. And the more time you take at it, the more calories you're burning.
There you go. Working on those abs, those glutes.
Oh yeah,
The yoga stretches, you got it
yeah,
all.
that's right. It's all in one. It's all in one really awesome thing that actually helps your marriage. It's like sex is like the glue in your marriage. It's what sort of brings you together. It's this thing that you share with your husband that nobody else gets to see and no one else shares in. It's this wonderful, intimate thing that God created. It's supposed to be good, and I say we take back the narrative.
I say we take it back. I'm with you, girl. Let's do it. Oh, this has been so good. This has been such a refreshing time with you. Just keeping it real, like in the real struggles that we have. I think too many times we gloss over like sex, but we need to. This is real, and we need to talk about it. The real struggles, the real issues, and let's solve it. And we can always go back. One thing I love about you, Heidi, is you are a lover of God's word, and we can always go back to his word and find out his design. And he designed sex to be a beautiful part of that covenant of marriage. So I just want to thank you. You have been such a blessing to me, and I know to all the women who have listened and who are watching, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Thanks for having me.
This has been a joy. Now, remember, you can go check out Heidi at thebusymom.com and make sure you pick up her book, The Guide to Romance. This is an amazing book. You're going to be so blessed. I just recommend you have Kleenex ready. So this has been a wonderful time together. God bless you and be blessed like crazy.